Hi everyone, welcome to the third episode of Bones and Stones. Today we have a power couple of note who've joined us, Matt and Steph. They're going to chat a little bit about a recent find of theirs that has made international headlines. It's been all over the place. It's really exciting, but I'll let them talk about it. And that's from a site they've been working at called Drimolen. I'm going to start off by asking Steph a question, and it's a question I've actually wondered for a very long time. You've been with Matt for a very long time, quite a few years now. How have you been coping? Because we haven't been coping.
Yeah, so it's actually going on 10, nearly 11 years now. And, you know, just like this lockdown, you've got to take it day by day.
No, great. Okay. But seriously though, that find you guys have made is really remarkable. It's like, it's sort of making waves in all kinds of circles. So could you just talk us through a little bit of it in terms of its impact, and maybe also, you know, how you came about finding it in the first place?
Sure. So I've been running the Drimolen fossil site for a number of years now. And what's fascinating about the site is that, thankfully, geologically speaking, it's incredibly simple. Which means that being able to reconstruct it both with time depth and kind of geological reconstructions has been fairly easy. That being said, the dating took us nearly 5 years.
Sure.
So the find itself comes from a section of the cave system that's still in situ, which means it's not been disturbed, which is really rare when one considers that these cradle sites have been mined extensively and most of them are nearly 2 to 3 million years old. So we were very lucky to have found two crania in particular, two little skulls that the paper publishes that were in or right up next to breccia. So breccia is fossilized rock. And so they just very recently decalcified out. So their placement within the site and within context relevant to the dates is really good. So one of the skulls is 134, which is the one that's made all the headlines, understandably, because it's Homo erectus, which is a really unique thing to have found in South Africa to begin with, but also as far back in time as 2 million years. The second cranium is 152, and that is Paranthropus robustus. And it's a beautiful specimen and really hasn't received the limelight like it should, because it is a gorgeous specimen. But it's an adult male, whereas 134 is a child. It's between 2 to 3 years of age when it passed away. So fascinating finds. They've reached media all over the world. We've touched obviously all the big hitters: Australia, England, most of Europe, and so yeah, it's been fantastic.
Kind of countries that you've hit in terms of spreading the news?
Makes sense from a news perspective because Asia has quite a long time depth with a lot of Homo erectus finds. So it makes sense that they're quite interested, particularly areas like Indonesia. So it's been fascinating to watch the world's reaction.
Perhaps maybe a little bit more broadly about the significance of the finding. So you found 3 stems of the fossil record.
So it means is twofold. The first is we can talk about Homo erectus and the impact that that's had. So what we've done there is we've pushed back Homo erectus's range by a good 200,000 years.
Sure.
Because the next occurrence of Homo erectus in the fossil record is in Georgia at Dmanisi at around 1.8 million. So we know that we now have spread its time depth much further back, but we've also moved it geologically. So we've shifted the origin or the point of earliest known. It was great. We know that it occurred in Africa very early on, but very quickly thereafter left Africa and moved out and started dominating the remainder of the world. So it's a fascinating species from that perspective. The other thing that we can talk about with the find, and specifically the fact that we now have both Homo erectus and Paranthropus robustus in a very constrained time period at Drimolen, alongside other known specimens from other sites at the same time period of Australopithecus, means that we're looking at a really interesting mix of species on the Southern African landscape at a very, very critical time period for ecological change. So it's fascinating to have 3 genera all on the landscape in this very small area of the cradle of humankind. And so the next step would then be trying to tease apart how that kind of relationship happened. How did these three different animals use the same very small landscape?
Sorry, I think that's where I got confused, is that contemporaneity in the landscape. You discovered two different species, but then it's the fact that they're coexisting on the landscape, which is obviously very interesting from a paleo landscape perspective. In terms of the dating, what kind of techniques we use? Because obviously we know that dating the cave sites of the cradle is extremely difficult.
Yeah, it is. And historically, it's been really complicated, but actually, I think it's because it was so difficult and we had to come up and innovate new ways consistently to date these sites, they're becoming more and more accurate. And that's really what you've seen with Drimolen is we've used three absolute dating techniques. We've used uranium series dating, which dates the flowstones. Then we've dated the teeth directly of a number of buck species using uranium series electron spin resonance. And then finally, we did paleomagnetic dating on the sediments themselves. And all three of these worked in a really nice, consistent way where not only were we dating the fossils directly, but then we were also dating the sediments and the flowstones that bisected all of the sediments. So it gave us a really nice constrained date of 2.04 to 1.95 million years from the beginning of the deposit forming to the end. So it's a really nice snapshot of deposition. It gives us a really good insight into what was running around on the landscape at a very precise time period.
And when you started this and you started investigating these deposits, were you expecting to find something like this erectus species appearing so early?
Not erectus, definitely not. That was quite a surprise. We knew for sure that we had early Homo in the deposit because we've recorded that prior, but we've never been able to pinpoint. Homo is on the landscape already. Things like Homo habilis have been walking around for a couple million or a couple 100,000 years prior to that. So we knew that we had Homo, but I think if anyone had to have guessed, we most likely would have said either we were finding Homo habilis or something more akin to Homo ergaster, which is the African form of erectus. But the reason we've gone with erectus specifically with this find is it actually most best represents and matches Mojaketo from Indonesia. So it definitely has more of an East African morphology to it, which is great. So yeah, erectus was quite the surprise.
Awesome.
Just to, Kara, maybe to bring you into the conversation a little bit. Sorry, for the people that are listening and watching this, this couple that's been together for 10, 11 years, how they deal with the situation is to put each other in separate rooms. So they're currently in the same house right now, but one of them is in a different room. Anyways, so just talk perhaps about the archaeology. So I mean, Kara, I know obviously you've worked with older one tools and obviously earlier Stone Age stuff as well. Is there any expectation that perhaps you'd find some stone tools associated in the deposits? Did you find anything? Do you think you will find in the future?
So the archaeology conundrum at Drimolen is actually quite interesting because there are currently 6 known stone tools from the site. And as you know from working at cradle sites, that is a pittance. It is almost a, what I would call a dearth of evidence, considering at places like Sterkfontein, you're in the neighborhood of about 3,500. So 6 is not terribly large assemblage, but it actually does reflect some interesting trends when you look at those tools. First of all, the 3 of the 6 are made on quartzite that are quite nice sort of variety, meaning that they're very homogeneous. The grain size is quite small, and this suggests that there's some good nappability, if you will, that those quartzites are actually preferable for conchoidal fracture, and they were quite sort of easily napped. We do find the other 3 are made on quartz, and one of those quartz tools is retouched. So that component of the assemblages for the Oldowan are quite small throughout the world. There are some retouched tools in Oldowan assemblages, but again, they're quite rare. So the way we're sort of hypothesizing this is potentially one of the reasons why there's a lack of stone tools is because Drimolen is situated very high in elevation. It's a site that probably is not easily accessible when you're down in somewhere like the Blauwbank River Valley, which is, you know, where Sterkfontein and Swartkrans are straddling, then, you know, to get to Drimolen requires a hike up the hill, and to transport stone tools all that way is probably not, you know, an efficient use of energy to get to this cave system. Now, on that note, there is a large assemblage of bone tools that come from Drimolen, some of which are quite complex, like a double-sided bone tool. And while these types of archaeology are disputed in terms of if they're actually anthropogenic or not, you know, I personally don't see any reason why we would dispute bone tools. But the interesting part here is that, you know, they're hypothesized to be used for digging activities. You know, we find that there's a sort of consistency in what bones that they're made on, where the polish on the sort of bottom end of the bone tool is positioned, and there's these sort of parallel striations on those polished ends. And it does suggest that there's probably some sort of consistency in use, particularly, you know, digging for tubers or other activities that involve sort of foraging for vegetal or plant materials. So it is possible that, you know, all of this archaeology fits together. The sort of thought was that Paranthropus may have been using these digging tools to access termite mounds and sort of tubers and roots, because their teeth, you know, seem to be sort of evolved for a function of crushing quite hard foodstuffs. But I think we have to start reassessing and rethinking these things, because we know that, as Steph was saying, Homo erectus is quite an adaptive species. So maybe they had a sort of varied toolkit. And the reason we're finding lots of bone tools is because at Drimolen they were focused on other sort of types of subsistence rather than just maybe butchering animals, which is the sort of primarily hypothesized use for stone tools. All these things we have to start really thinking of, I think, quite cleverly now. But, you know, our hypotheses are there. We now need to find ways to test them.
And then, sorry, just a final question before we wrap up. Can we expect some more exciting papers and finds coming out anytime soon?
Yes, watch this space. Yes, there have been a number of really interesting finds coming from Drimolen in the past couple of years. I think we can mostly attribute it to the fact that we've changed the excavation strategy at the site. Prior to this, all of the main excavation had taken part in what we call the central excavation zone, which is in fact quite disconnected from the breccias and is largely ex situ decalcified material that is mixed with lime miners' rubble. So now what we're doing, whilst slightly more difficult from an excavation perspective, but is definitely bearing fruit, is shifting that excavation up into the breccia mounds and where there's still pinnacles, and digging the very recently decalcified material, because then we know we're not going to deal with highly fragmentary specimens, because the acid that moves through the system hasn't really had a chance to degrade the material, but also it's largely still at least closely associated with other materials that we could be able to associate. So teeth, for example, with postcrania, which is nice. So yes, some very exciting stuff coming soon, but I cannot show my hand just yet.
Look. If I could maybe just, before we end off, Tim, just say thanks very much to Karen, Steph, for you know, chatting with us and stuff. Just to for the listeners and the watchers, I mean, the significance of this research is absolutely incredible. This research has been published in Science, one of the world's top journals. So this really is groundbreaking research, and we're very fortunate to be able to know Karen, Steph, and to be able to chat like this about the research and stuff. So thanks very much, guys. I really do appreciate your time.
Cool. Thanks.
Anytime.